Okay guys, so let's carry on, and I have started the most two crucial machines are, well, most crucial machine is ESXi1 that needs to be started. Then ESXi2 is 6 GB now. Okay, so I'll just start Win01, ESXi1, ESXi2 only, and ESXi3 when we need, we'll start that too, because we need to cover the backup lab as well. And last class we had I and Surprise was working on that. Thanks to Surprise as well for troubleshooting Passion, so that was really cool. But we came down to that one point there where the vSAN needs to detect the underlying hardware, and it's a totally virtual environment. And those were some of the so I was looking for the workaround for that, it should not really need to detect our hardware underlying, and it should just go ahead, but it was not going ahead. And without that, vSAN was not uh, giving the, well, some of the errors were not being removed. And well, the configuration wise, that's how vSAN is configured. The vSAN data store was also created, so that was also what I wanted to show, that this is how it looks like. But obviously without removing those errors that were looking strictly for our underlying hardware, so that's something that I need to create a workaround, and then I'll send you the video for that. So other than that, vSAN initial configurations and everything was okay if we had it on a separate ESXi directly on a hardware. So I'm just gonna log in from the Win01 first of all, and ESXi1. I hope I suspended it. So well, it seems like I started it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to look for it while we discuss what we need to do today. It's the Veeam software while it starts. And first let me just confirm that if I have communication with the VCSA, or it's gonna take time to start. So I'll try to go to ESXi as well, and directly while I'll go inside ESXi, I'll just try to click log in here, so it could try itself to connect to the VCSA Vcenter. Oh, maybe I'm doing too fast. Alright, so yeah, it was not on, so this means I did not suspend it, I just shut it down last time. Well, for our environment it's kind of better as well, but it does take time to fully start the background services of Vcenter. So once it is started, while this is going on, it is powering on, so when it is there, we will be able to log in as well. While this is going on, I'm just gonna show you what's the plan. Now, so we're basically going for the VMware Backup, and there's that very famous that you would see in many of the companies, and that backup solution, backup and replication solution, in fact, and it's the Veeam backup solution. So some classes ago, students were insisting that can you show us the Veeam backup? That's pretty much in in every environment we see. So I then added this lab. It's a big software, but we're gonna use the that version which is freeware or trialware, and we're gonna do backup of our virtual machine, and then we're going to restore it as well. So first of all, the Veeam backup software, so what are the features of that? So we're going to talk about that. Then installation, so that's where it goes. it's a big software, so it takes a little. It installs a free SQL Server Express Edition. If it's a small installation, if it's a big installation, suppose you have like 10,000 virtual machines. So that's big, right? So in that case, you would have a separate SQL Server in which it's going to create a database to save all the information and configuration and data information that it has. But since our environment is small, so we're going to go for the free SQL Express Edition that is inbuilt into the software. Now here we have
Good morning, guys.
good morning. So features and installation we're going to go through, and then how to connect to VCSA, the Veeam software, the Veeam backup software, and then how to take backup of a VM while it's stopped VM / started. It doesn't matter whether the VM is stopped or started, it just takes a backup of the virtual machine / started. And then once the backup is taken, so where is it taken, and also then how to restore from backup VM.
Amir, just a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a snapshot and a Veeam?
What's the difference between snapshot and... So Veeam is a company name.
Okay.
And it does take backups and snapshots of a virtual machine. So snapshot is just a point-in-time backup, we can say, which is the configuration, the current state of that virtual machine, the configurational state of the virtual machine that it freezes and copies that into its snapshot file. And if we want to go to that configurational state, then we can go back there as well. Normally the size of the snapshot is small, while when we take backups, so backup is for the data and configuration, so it is more comprehensive. It has we can just restore one file from a backup as well if we want to. Instead of snapshot is just the full snapshot. You want to take the full snapshot, you want to go to the full state on 1 week ago. Yes, that's it, but not, we cannot pick and choose from there. So
I get it. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so here, but what I wanted to also say that Veeam backup. So there's a I uploaded this software on my Google Drive, and this is the link there in this OneNote, as well as in the downloads folder. I added that link, so you can just start downloading if. At the start, it's not very big software, but obviously it's gonna take some time to download. And if you're following the video and then doing the whole lab, then you can have all the time to download it. So I'll just put it in the chat there as well. The Veeam Backup 11. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Is Veeam the industry standard? Are there other backup software for VMware?
There are actually many others. There's a long list of companies that offer virtualization environment backup and replication. So, well, that is up to, I could just Google it, VMware Backups. So Net Backup also offers that. Virtual Machine Backup Guide, Veritas, I think it's Veritas Net Backup. That has this. So number one, VMware backup software. Then it comes to Nekivo is one, Cloudian, and then Vembu. So there's a long list of software. Top 5 backup software for VMware infrastructure. That this site I may have mentioned before as well. Vladlan.fr. This guy is really updating everything. One of the best sites for VMware, older and newer and newest. So I'm just gonna copy this site link for reference. Always it's up to date, and so that guy also has talked about VMware. So well, now Nekivo is one software. It's very not very well known Veeam backup then and replication that we are trying. And normally you would see job announcements there for different companies on recruiter sites. Many of the sites would have Veeam there because it's so comprehensive. It can take a backup of even Exchange server, Active Directory, SQL, you name any kind of environment, Linux environment, and then also all kinds of cloud environments. So AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and VMware Cloud. So all those environments it takes backup. So more famous. Then Altaro. I just put the link for this page, Hyperius, and then there is well, that's not the name of the backup. It's wrap-up. So, but these are the top 5. But that's this guy's thing, right? So there are other top listings as well. Net Backup is very famous for that. These are, other than Veeam, the other 4 are actually not very well known. Maybe they have invested in his site, so that's why. But yes, there is a long list of backups there, backup software. So I went for, they all basically, you need to know how to install, and then you need to know how to connect it to VCSA. That's the next stage. And the third is, if you just learn any one of the backup softwares and how to connect to the VCSA, I'm sure it's not going to be difficult to install any other, and how to connect to VCSA, and then how to take a backup of that. So yeah, so that's one of the top ones, the VMware among the market share for backup softwares for virtual environments and cloud actually. Okay, so here Veeam backup. Well, now first of all, I mentioned that please do those who are just trying to do the lab currently, or just simply go ahead and download that, and when you want to follow the lab, you can do this. So we're going to go through the features and installation, how to connect. What are the features of our typical backup software? What should you see there as the most? Not all the mainstream backup software have well, all the state-of-the-art features that you will see in this software as well. And if you know one backup software and all its features, obviously majority of them would have those state-of-the-art features as well. So product overview, and while our machines are starting, I'm just going to go brief a little on this software's backup solution. Veeam offers several options packaged to meet your growing data protection, monitoring, and disaster recovery needs. So protection, monitoring, and disaster recovery. So disaster recovery, yes, we're going to try to restore deleted. So first we're going to take a backup of a machine, we're going to delete that backup machine, and then we're going to restore it, right? So then how do we recover from that disaster? So that's also going to be a plan. Now obviously this is a marketing related information as well, but it does show us about what are the features that we're expecting in any typical backup software of today. So it just says that it covers pretty much all the brands, VMware backups, Hyper-V backups, Nutanix backups, physically, so it's Microsoft Windows, Linux, and Mac. Net Backup also does the same thing. It also backs up to all those brands there and their products. Oracle, SAP, Unix, Cloud, AWS, Azure, and more. So it's that's why you would see this Veeam company software a bit more in majority of the companies there. So scale out backup repository, including Veeam capacity tier and archive tier. So archiving for Exchange mailboxes, or capacity tiering, that what kind of capacity do you need, and inform you if it's just reaching the limit. Veeam plugins for Oracle. So it goes on. Backup from storage snapshots. So it takes the snapshots of the whole storage as well. So data store has, suppose 5 or 10 virtual machines or 20 virtual machines one data store contains. So it's gonna just take it can take the backup, provided you have that kind of capacity. You have the petabytes of storage there, so it can take the snapshot of the whole data store with 10 virtual machines or 20 virtual machines. Built-in replication. We have already seen the replication lab in that FT fault tolerance, that primary and secondary VMs in E6i2 and E6i3 hosts, and when we crash one host, then the secondary becomes primary right away. So replication, it also provides that. It's saying that continuous data protection, obviously that's going to be encryption, and encrypted backups will be there as well. Veeam instant recovery engine, so you want to instantly recover some virtual machine. We're going to see that manually, yes, we can recover instantly. It depends on the size of the virtual machine. Suppose you have a virtual machine with 100 GB, 200 GB disk. So recovering that would obviously take time, and it's over the network, then a bit more time. Veeam Explorers for Microsoft Active Directory, Exchange, SharePoint, SQL Server, and Veeam Data Labs. So obviously these are all the products it supports. Data Lab ensure that you are ready for recovery in a secure and compliant manner with a collection of built-in tools that provides verified recoverability, security protection, restores GDPR friendly. GDPR is just European data standards, security standards, as well as scalability and disaster recovery standards. Virtual sandbox for testing and more to verify that your backups are ready. So it has a lot of enterprise grade features like any other enterprise grade backup software there. Data reuse and third-party integration API, application programming interface. You want to connect to another big applications there, it can get connected to those. Then Veeam 1, so this products keep on going, monitoring, reporting, analytics. Obviously any backup would have that. Well, monitoring normally is a separate software as well, but they're just talking about the enterprise grade level of this software, that it has monitoring and reporting analytics features as well, intelligent diagnostics and remediation actions, capacity planning. So this is one of the top ones. So that's why if you start reading net backup as well, I saw it in banks, net backup software being used. So that would also, but this also is used a lot. Then there are, if I just go for backup exec is also, that's from Veritas, and then net backup. So there are these other types that you should know. Veritas backup exec versus Veritas net backup. Okay, both are from actually Veritas. That is, and they have, I've seen net backup in 2 or 3 banks there on very large scale being used. So yeah, but we're talking about the Veeam backup. Just some features that I wanted to also mention were that normally every backup would support compression and that deduplication of data. So dedupe and compression. Actually, it's not mentioning those specific features there, but obviously any backup would have deduplication. Just you would know from Microsoft and from other studies that any similar file that is placed in any other subfolder structures, and it would just detect all the exactly similar files and simply put a shortcut and delete those files to save space. That is deduplication, and obviously the compression just simply saves your space. Anyway, okay, so we're into this backup right now. While this is going on, let me just check our machine, that if we can store pages. So it does take its time. I want to check also what is the RAM for Win01. I think it's 2 GB. Yeah, it's 2 GB. So the plan here is that I did not start the E6i3 just to save some on RAM. It was only 6 GB. What I want to do is I'm going to give this Win01 4 GB or 6 GB there, right? Why? Because I want this software to be installed. Now this software has to be installed on some machine, right? And it has to be either Linux or Windows. Since we have one Windows machine, and Veeam backup software cannot be installed on a hypervisor. Hypervisors are not made for software installations. It's just to host virtual machines. So you have to have either a Windows machine or a Linux machine. So we have Windows machine here, but at 2 GB it's gonna then be slow. So I'm just gonna shut down the Windows machine here to increase the RAM to 4 GB if I can, or 6 GB. So I'll just check it out here, that what kind of overall RAM we're talking about. So with the E6i3 down, I'm on 20 GB here. So I'm just gonna increase it to 4 GB here, and I'm gonna shut down this machine. So what's the plan here? I'll just quickly type that, and then we go ahead. So and we're going to keep on talking about features because it might take a bit longer time. It's all about how to connect to VCSA, and then how to take a backup, how does it look like, where to go and what to do. So plan is shut down Win01 and increase the RAM to 4 GB or 6 GB, and start. Okay, and then connect the ISO of Veeam Backup and Replications 11 software, and connect the ISO of Veeam Backup and Replication 11 software, and install it. So it does need .NET Framework installed as well. .NET Framework, if you've heard about it, it does take time. Now we have internet, then it's gonna just grab those files from internet and it's gonna install. So once installation, so we're gonna install it. So let's just reach these points there, and then go ahead from there. How to connect, I'll show you that. So I'll just go back here to connecting the software. Now I have given that link already in OneNote and in the chat as well for the Veeam Backup 11 trial software. So I'm going to go to Win01 first of all. I'll shut down guest, or I'll just right click and shut down from here. Really don't know. Serious. What's this? So I'll just change the RAM here, and then go ahead. Now there is, since we are in IT, so we know that there are multitasking that we can do as well, provided we don't get confused. The thing is, it's gonna take it's a big software, so it takes a long time. If everyone's okay, then we can go for some smaller topics as well, but let's just start for now, and if it takes too long, shutting down. Okay, I'll just quickly change its RAM to 4 and go ahead. While it is starting, I can still connect the ISO of Veeam Backup 11. So I'll just right click and go to CD DVD and to browse. So Veeam Backup and Replication 11. Okay, and press. Okay, so it's gonna be connected now to the 01 machine. So I'll just click applying computer settings. Also, we really don't need 6 GB for E6i2, but yeah, just to start a virtual machine, 4 GB could be enough as well, but I'll just keep it that way for now. So I'll start installation of Veeam Backup software, and it will go through different stages, and then once it is installed, it's gonna look for VCSA and it's gonna connect. We need to provide the credentials of VCSA to it so it could see the whole Vcenter from it inside its own console of Veeam. Okay, so it's already attached. If I go to settings and Veeam Backup, okay, it's already attached to the DVD. So I'll just go to the yellow folder or the file explorer, and there's the DVD here, and there's a setup file, so pretty straightforward. And then there are many installation options here, and there's an install button here. The older software used to just show a big face here, but and the install was supposed to be very small here, so we keep on searching what do we need to install. So the default version, instead of the enterprise grade, because the backup feature for them will also be there the same, and the backup feature here will also be the same. So I'm going to just click the install here, and at once it says please install Microsoft.NET Framework 4.7.2 to proceed with Veeam Backup and application installation. Click OK to install this prerequisite. I'm just going to press OK. I do have internet here, so it's going to install automatically, and whatever file it needs, it's going to grab from internet, and then it's going to ask for a restart. So I'll just press OK here. It can grab those files from the DVD as well, but sometimes it doesn't, so it becomes a pain then to install it. So that's why I just let it go with internet connection on. So while it is trying this, and I did shut down and restart it, so I'm just gonna open the Google Chrome as well. My laptop and the desktop both are creating a lot of heat as well. While it is starting, I'll just also remotely connect and check if I can to my environment. So we're gonna take a backup of our one machine one started, and we can take a backup over the network as well as locally. Once we know how to take a backup, then where do we take a backup? That's easy. Connected, and I'll click the host and clusters, and yeah, it's loading fine. So I'll minimize this and check it out. So it's still working on it. So while it is working, I'll check what's the detection level. So E6i2 is up, E6i3 is down. I didn't start it, but I do see that E6i2 is showing me. Seems like, okay, I'll click the summary here and check it out, host connection and power state. I'll just right click here and there's a connection. Well, it is actually connected, so I'll give it a little more time. I'll check the cluster level summary as well. Yeah, SSI3, forget it, but SSI2, host connection power state. If I acknowledge that, then refresh. I should have reset to green, so if the error persists, it will still come. Okay, so nope, still on its way. These installations. Okay, so while this is going on, I'll try to check if the rest of the environment is okay. The message is still showing there. Should have reset it to green. There was that option as well. Or I can disconnect and connect it again to check. Okay, so any machine that is on E6i2, I can just test if it is. Excuse me. So if the machine starts on E6i2, then it's okay. I'll check the monitoring as well. This is on E6i2, VM01. If it creates any errors. Vim tools are not installed, yeah, I know that. So it does start. Then I'll check if what are the trigger alarms or issues. Host connection power state. I go and it says critical. Okay, default alarm to monitor host connection power state. All hosts and if host connection state is equal to not responding and host power state is not equal to standby, then trigger the alarm as critical. Well, my machines are starting fine, so I'll refresh that. And after some time it may go away because everything seems to be working fine on this. Yeah. Okay, so the reboot option has popped up for the .NET Framework 4.7.2, so I'm just gonna have to restart this machine. give this password. Go ahead. So now it will continue the installation of Veeam. Okay, it says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes. The Veeam backup continues after the restart. And it carries on at its own speed. So while it is should pop up here. Okay, I accept the terms of the Veeam license. I accept the terms of the third-party components license agreement. Well, I'll just accept both. Well, it's not gonna let me go ahead anyway. So license file for Veeam. So we don't have the license file here. If you don't have license, just click in next to install the community edition. And Veeam end user license agreement or EULA prohibits using community edition to provide any services to third parties. In particular, you may not install, configure, and manage so that your client's environment as a consultant or as an MSP. So obviously this is just a test environment, so we cannot use it commercially. That's what it's saying. Community edition. And yeah, we're gonna keep the options as is and click next. Make sure you have internet connection because it will need that for this. So it says here CLR types of SQL 2014, SQL 2014 management objects, fail. So PowerShell 5.1, Universal C runtime, .NET Core runtime 3.1, ASP.NET Core. So I'm going to click the install button here. So it's going to grab it all from the internet. And once they're all installed, then we'll go ahead next. Okay, so it's installing the software, actually downloading as well some of the files. So, well, they're all downloaded. So I'm gonna click next and past. Okay, if you want to install it in some other location, you can do that. Otherwise, it's okay to go ahead and C drive, right cache folder, F program file data, guest catalog folder, backup IR cache, VBR catalog. It's creating some of its own folders and mapping them to other drive letters. Okay, SQL 2016 Express. So this can be installed on any machine in the network as long as the machine has connection to the VCSA. In a production environment, it would be a dedicated separate Windows server on which the backup software will be installed, or a virtual machine actually. Yeah, on a virtual machine, a dedicated one. Okay, seems like I'll just grab water and come back. Okay, so what we're doing is okay, so it may be finishing. Well, so that's the plan for once installation finishes, then we need to connect to VCSA, and it will ask for the DNS name or IP of the VCSA machine, right? Name and IP of VCSA machine. Also credentials. Either you create a new account and give credentials that are required by the VMware, or in our case in a test lab, credentials on VCSA. So we will be providing here admin is, so we're going to domain vsphere.local / administrator. The credentials have been provided. The role of VCSA environment is shown. Shown inside the console of Veeam Backup. So once we see, which means that all the virtual machines can be seen and can be backed up from within Veeam console. So once Veeam backup software connects successfully, then it sees the whole environment of VCSA from its own console, and then we can just select from within Veeam. Okay, right click this machine and backup, right click that machine and backup. So check it out. Yeah, still looks like in the final stages. And well, it's gonna take its time.
Amir,
Yeah.
you said you're going to provide some test terms, right, for your the VCS exam,
Yes.
VMware exam?
Yeah.
Can you provide them earlier so we can start practicing?
Yeah, sure. You could. If we're on WhatsApp and also my email here. So for sample questions, we just call them sample questions.
Yeah, okay.
Please email me at gmail.com or WhatsApp 1647146. Cool. Well, check it out now. Okay, still going. Well, yeah, it's a big software. Okay, so application console. Anytime. Now, doing its final files. Oh, okay, so it's deploying for SharePoint, SQL, Active Directory, Exchange. Teams. Okay, got it. Mm-hmm. And Linux. While it is doing this, I'll just make sure again, because if we can connect from here to the VCS and log in successfully, then it can also connect easily. Plus password. Okay. Oh, serious. They are. No, okay, my bad. Thought they were in maintenance mode, and I was gonna exit, but no. Obviously, the the icon is different for the maintenance mode, so they seem to be fine. I can just remotely. I can just reconnect them, but the virtual machine is working fine. Okay, what happened there? Oh, so cumulative updates. Okay, patches of Veeam Backup. So it's installing cumulative updates and patches. Wow. So yeah, it is comprehensive software, so it's taking its time. And okay, so alright, so I got some. Really? Okay, now it's the. I guess this is the final one. Starting services. Okay, so I've just dragged all the files to the. I'll check also what are the number of sample questions there available. I have a, well, it's a student teacher effort that we have a subscription to some sample question sites from where we just grab that, so I'll just try to get it there.
Which site do you normally use? Exam collection or testings?
It's prepaway.com.
Okay.
And it has 109 questions, so let's download that. I'm just doing that on the other screen right now. So. Alright, finally the software had been installed, and okay, so I'm just gonna click the finish button here, and the link has been added here with this weird icon, and I'm just gonna double click this and start. So it says where is the Veeam server. So this machine is also a Veeam server, but this client could be installed on any of the administrators, Windows 10 or Windows 8, like that as well. So since it's locally available, so localhost is okay. Otherwise we put here IP of the Veeam Backup and Application Server virtual machine there. So it's still locally available, so I'm just going to click connect without clicking in or unchecking anything.
You want to get a password for Netplus admin?
Yeah, so it is installed in that Windows machine.
Okay. Yeah, NetAdmin. Yeah, but you didn't provide the password. I'm just asking.
It's this because this.
Okay, you Windows. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Veeam Backup and Replication 11. Alright, so that's the Veeam console, and it would say dots per inch or DPI scaling level setting is different from 100%. So just the display, how it's going to display in this screen. So I'm just going to say, yeah, okay. Well, that's the whole thing. And Community Edition is available. Your current version, 10 workloads, no support. Limited item level recovery, limited storage integrations, no object storage integrations, no backup testing. Are you kidding me? Okay. No monitoring and reporting, no centralized management, no connect to service providers. Okay, so no is also in big letters that we should, it's really convincing us to buy it out. Anyway, so on the left side you can see here the VMware, actually the virtual infrastructure, then the physical infrastructure, file shares, warning. Now we're gonna go for the virtual infrastructure. Once we click the virtual infrastructure, so there's that add server written here, create job. Veeam Backup and Replication provides different options to balance recovery time with storage requirements. And then restore is also here, but the main thing is this add server here. Before using Veeam Backup and Replication, you must register your protected, okay, blah 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 blah. To start this process, click add server button in the ribbon. Anyway, so and then they're saying that your protected data resources in the inventory. So if you want to add any of your local resources here inside the Veeam, then you can just add it here. So local resources means ESXi you can add, and Vcenter you can add. So obviously we are intending to add the whole Vcenter. Why? Because through Vcenter, Veeam can see the whole environment. Suppose you have 200 hypervisors or ESXi hosts, and you have maybe 5,000 virtual machines. So once the Veeam connects to the VCSA, it can see all of those hypervisors and virtual machines. So I'm going to click that add server here, which is here as well. And then it's saying Hyper-V or VMware, so obviously it's VMware. And inside VMware, it's also asking vCloud Director or vSphere. Adds vCenter server recommended or standalone vSphere hypervisor ESXi to the inventory. So I'm just going to click vSphere. Now it says DNS name or IP address of VMware server. So obviously this would be the actual VCSA machine name inside which the vCenter is living. If I go to my server manager here in the Windows and then go ahead to the DNS and right click here and go to DNS manager, power lookup zone, netplus.local. So here VCSA and its IP. So if I double click this A record, it says vcsa.netplus.local and copy. Yeah, so this is the name that I needed to give to that wizard, that inside this machine is our vCenter living right now. So vcsa.netplus.local or its IP. So I'm going to click that next, and now it's asking for the credentials. So I'm going to go for add here and give credentials of what? So we're going to give the, we're not supposed to browse here. Why? Because then it's going to go to the Active Directory, right? So we need to simply put our domain, VMware domain, that is vsphere.local / vsphere.local, and that's the domain name and the top account or whichever account with privileges that are enough privileges for the Veeam to connect and do the backups. So administrator is the top account for the test environment and the passwords. Let's see. Now, if we are now, remember first of all that it's E6i3. I have not started. I don't need it. And second thing is that if we are able to connect ourselves to the Vcenter, obviously, then this will also work. So make sure you're already logged in. It's not required, but that's just to check that yes, I'm able to log in, and then this should also be able to connect now. So it's going to make that connection from Win01 through E6i to that machine, and then confirm the credentials as well. So I'm just going to press OK, and then it's going to do that on HTTPS and 443. So I'm just going to click the apply. Sometimes on first attempts it doesn't do that, and sometimes on the first attempt it's good. So it says that the certificate is not from some proper CA certificate authority, and it's a self-signed certificate. We know that we have a self-signed certificate right now, so I'm just going to click continue. Okay, starting infrastructure item update process, creating database records for server, collecting disks and volumes info. So it's able to connect and is trying to grab all the information, inventory information, any necessary configurational information that it needs to offer its backup and replication services. So it's just importing all those that information to Veeam console, and then it says that failed to connect 3 yes, because it is shut down, that's why. So it's okay. And disks and volumes discovery completed, but there's a warning, and also about E6i3 it says again and again that hey, what's wrong with that. So yeah, I didn't start it, so it's okay. And I'm gonna click next after, well, it's letting me click next, so that's why. And Vmware Vcenter server was created with warnings. See logs for details. Host info is this. So it's a 7.0.1. Connections connection options are this. Yep. So I'll click finish. So it's the information of our VCSA has been added under the virtual infrastructure. So I'm gonna expand that, and now yes, it shows the folder structure that we created inside the Vcenter, Canada and US folders, and we expand that. So there's a tor DC. Yes, that is our environment. And if I expand the tor DC, nothing here. If I go for NYDC, so I see here ESXi1, which is not part of the cluster because that has our Vcenter, which is controlling the whole environment, and then there is cluster. And if we go further down, so we click the cluster and all the virtual machines line up. I did start the VM01, so it sees that as there's a green arrow here, play button here. So while the others are shut down there, so yes, it correctly represents here, they are shut down here as well. And the two the hosts, hypervisor hosts are here. Now if I click the host, it doesn't show the machines per host, but overall cluster, what does cluster has overall, it does show that. So that's our environment. One machine is started, the others are shut down. Well, the next thing would be, there are many features. You can play with the community edition and do some YouTube, and there would be, I'm sure, a lot of videos there, but what we are here for is to do a backup and restore. So I'll just go ahead and do a backup of stopped machine, then started machine as well. So I'll right click here. So there's a quick backup, Veeam zip, and quick migration, backup job, replication. So it does a lot of other features here as well. So if I go for, I'll just go for both one by one. So if I go for quick backup here, unable to perform quick backup for VM02, no full backup found for this. So full quick backup would be the incremental one, right? That if you have a full backup, then come to quick backup. So I'll go back to the Veeam zip, and that then opens up a window and asking and saying that hey, it's a 300 GB 298 GB free of 299 GB. So that's saying free. So created by Veeam Backup, default backup. Either it is created inside the folder structure. I'm just going to go to the yellow folder here as well, and that is and this PC. So yeah, these are our those ones that we created in SAN. And if I go to the folder structure here, so program files, there is Veeam folder here created, and then there are the two folders that are showing here, Veeam Power NFS, and and if I go back to the C drive, then program files, it also has that Veeam folder, and the rest of the folders are there available. Now I'm going to minimize this, and I'll go for local or shared folder, right? And I'll click the browse here, and I'll go for if I go down to the downloads folder here. Oh, that's a DVD, and I'll go above NetAdmin, and there's the downloads folder. So I'll just try to save it here, but yes, if you have shared folder somewhere else, a file server, you can just simply give the UNC path for that / server name / shared folder name. Delete this backup in 1 week, so well, up to you. Then there is more button here as well. Enable backup file encryption, so you want backup file encrypted as well, and then do you want it to be compressed as well to take lesser space. So all these features are there, but I have just given the path for downloads folder, so I'm going to press OK. And it does show details here as well. So if I click the show details for the machine that is being backed up, so job progress starts here, and well, it does say what it's exactly doing step by step as well. Now this machine is actually empty, and if it had it was 20 GB, it's the same process for machine with disk. It's just could have taken longer for the machine with that okay, backup is in this place. See what I give. Primary bottleneck source, job finished, so job progress here. So this is how the screen looks like. If it was a 100 GB disk, it would have taken much more time given our hardware, underlying processing disk, and RAM, so it would have taken a long time to do the same process. I'm going to press OK here, and there's a VM01 that is started, and I'm going to right click here and Veeam to, so it just grabs that path that I gave for the previous machine, that you want to just put this backup on the same path. Okay, I'll just put that on the same path as well. So started machine, there's nothing different because of that volume shadow services, VSS, that a started machine can be backed up as well without disrupting anything. So all the mainstream backup solutions offer that VSS, volume shadow service. So started machine or start machine, same process. Also, it's just that our machine sizes are not big, otherwise we could just sit on it and keep staring at it, and it's gonna just move like we're seeing some ice melt. So That's what we're avoiding here. Otherwise, yeah, we can just do a full machine backup as well with something inside. It's just going to take longer time for that. So once the backups are successful, then the two machines whose backups we took, we're going to go to the Vcenter. We're going to delete those machines from the Vcenter. Then we're going to come here and check that what are the options offered when we are restoring. Okay. And it's gonna just finish the backup soon now. So once it is done, I'll check the previous backup as well. That was already done. So I'm just gonna go to the File Explorer here, go to the Downloads folder. So yeah, the machine VM01, well, that backup is going on right now. It's about to finish. But the other machine, VM02, which was shut down, its backup has been taken here in the Downloads folder. And that's how it looks like. Its extension, if we click the view and file name extensions, r.vbk. Oh, just thinking. Wow, it should not take that much. Our job progress is still 0 of 1. So processing is still showing there. And anytime it says, so if I suppose press OK here and I want to see the progress, normally if I go to VMware Vsphere and there is inventory, backup infrastructure, and that has Vcenter servers, VCSA, expand more, cluster. Yeah, so that's the infrastructure only. Storage infrastructure if we had connected that storage. Tape infrastructure if you have tape drives there. So history, I was looking for this history. That comes when you click this small arrow. And now it shows all the job in the history. Wow, what happened? I don't go down. It's not really. Oh, now it's showing. This is the history icon itself. this one. So I clicked here, and if I go for backup, yeah, so VM01 actually it says failed, and what happened? Failed to create NFC download stream, and all VMs have been queued for processing. Job finished with error, and so VCSA and failed to create NFC stream. That is not expected. Copy to clipboard. Why? So it's NFC. Oh yeah, we need to actually connect the storage, some kind of storage, either network. It's NFS. We have stored on a 4-node cluster. Recent, I have seen blah 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 blah. Split DNS issue. Okay, cannot connect to E6 hosts or Vcenter. So the shutdown VM was copied or backed up, but the started VM. Okay, so DNS lookup on CLI was working, but the Veeam VM is multi-homed and the interface with the private IP had the wrong DNS server setting. So it's more of a DNS issue, but for the started machine, not for the shutdown machine. That's very strange. Okay, so seems like a DNS issue, which should not be. If I right click here and command prompt admin and go yes, go for ipconfig // flush DNS register DNS, and go to inventory again, home, and success failed, inventory, invite cluster. Well, I can try one more time here. It does take time to give the report. Yes, there is one issue here, and that is really multi-homing as well. Multi-home just means that you are connected to different networks, and yes, Ethernet 0 is actually the local IP, private IP here, while it is Ethernet 1 is connecting us, although it's a private IP different. I have different IP there, and first one is 200, 192.168.200. This is 192.168.179, but this is the IP given to us by VMware Workstation DHCP, which is in turn connected to the internet, and it's providing us internet right now. So multi-homed computers might get this. That's why DNS is not being resolved. So normally in production environment, what happens is that there's just one network card that has the IP, private IP, and then it's given a gateway address, and then the DNS and alternate DNS, and that gateway address also is providing internet connection as well. So now the multi-home issue is not there in the production environment. Here, well, I actually don't need internet connection now, for now. So I can try to simply disable that temporarily. Since I did that, I'll go flush DNS and down arrow, register DNS. While I did start the job already, so hopefully it gets that. while it is going on and trying to rectify that error, and also trying to check if it's possible to have multitasking here. If we want to restore, so where's that option? While the backup is going on, and I can just, actually if I click anywhere else, it actually does not let me click unless I close this window. And if I press OK, it's just happening in the background. Again, this is the history, and there right now it's in progress. So whenever you want to see, we can see that here. So while it is going on, I'm just going to go back here to the inventory and NY cluster. So basically there's a restore option here as well. This one launches the restore wizard, and I'll click that restore option if it lets me restore while I'm taking a backup. And it simply asks for restore from backup. Yeah. Entire VM restore. Do you want to restore the whole VM? Yes. Oh, before restore, what I will do is I will delete that shutdown VM, VM02, that I have backed up and am trying to restore. So I'll click that. I'll go to the Vcenter and I'll delete that first. And here, VM02, took a backup of VM02, so I'm just going to right click here and get rid of it, delete it, delete from disk. Gone, so it's no longer there. I'll make sure it is no longer in the list as well. It's in the list, but go for F5. Okay, it's not in the list now. Now I can start the restore process and restore from backup, entire VM restore, instant recovery. Yeah, instant recovery instantly recovers a virtual machine by running it directly from backup. Remember to finalize the restore by moving the VM to your production storage. Entire VM restore restores entire VM to the original or a new location and registers it with the vSphere infrastructure. Restores to Amazon EC2. That's pretty cool. So it restores to the cloud as well, and to Azure cloud. So amazing. But here I'm just going to go for entire VM restore. I'll click that, and then it asks further. Okay, so here I'm going to click add. So virtual machines to restore, it's still asking, so add from backup, and there's the one that I need to restore. So I'll click that one machine. I'll expand this. Yeah, that's the machine, and click add. So once the machine is added, then I'm going to click next. Restore to the original location or restore to a new location or with different settings. I just want it to be restored to the original location. Or quick rollback option is there as well. Allows for quick VM recovery in case of guest OS software problem or user error. Do not use this option when receiving from disaster caused by hardware or storage issues. So if you're not really sure about the virtual machine that it's gonna be available in completely correct state, So in that case, go for the top option there. Just restore the whole thing. So restore to the original location, and I'm going to click next. So there's a scan the restored machine for malware prior to performing the recovery. The machine you are about to restore will be scanned by antivirus software installed on the mount server to prevent a risk of bringing malware into your environment. That's a pretty good feature, but I don't think we have a proceed with recovery, but disable network adapters if malware is found. About VM recovery, scan the entire image, continue scanning remaining files after the first malware has been found. So these are some extra options there for virtual machine recovery. Very interesting. So I'm just gonna click next. We don't have that malware solution. And restore reason, again, need to restore as it is critical. Okay, and then click next. So there's a summary: power on target VM after restoring. Okay, although it was not powered on at that time when we took a backup of this. So finish. So again, just like the backup, restore would also be not very long, or should not be long. Well, so we can cancel the restore task. It's still in progress right now. 0%. Does it let me go and check the history? No. Restoring VM is going on. I'll click the close button here. I think, well, I don't want to disrupt anything, but I think it's gonna work in the background. But at least it's not a big restore, so 99% shoots up to 99% right away. Okay, so powering on restored VM. Okay, it's powering on restored VM, which means it is restored already in success. Okay, success is coming here, so I'll click the close button here and go to the VM02, which was shut down, but it's now powered on after restoring it. So that's good. And if I go to the history to check out if, no, that was not resolved. I think my multi-homing is still gonna give me problems, or because of the DNS issue. It is not still resolved for the powered on machine. Getting into the Vsphere and data store, VCSA, so it's looking for a full URL, and because of this multi-homing setting, it may still show a problem here. If I go again, because I disabled that, but I did start at the DNS. I'll just put it on working in the background. We don't need to really wait for it. So VM, okay, this VM02 was backed up before. While shut down, I'll just take a backup of it, and in fact I'll put it on some other folder just to put some differences there. Documents. Okay. And ran the ipconfig flush and registered DNS plus disabled already the internet connection, so I'll let it go. Sometimes restarting works as well. So that's overall about the backup and restore virtual machine environment. So the virtual machine in a vSphere, and then it's a very big software, so obviously you can play with it and check all other options as well. But normally that's how we can take a backup, and then we can restore after deleting the machine, and it restores successfully as well. So while this is going on, we can still also talk about the other P2V that was already there in the line. The next topic, it's physical to virtual. What does that mean? So we can, if there is any physical machine, right? So it's the one machine, either Dell or HP or IBM physical servers, and you've installed directly a OS on top of this. So having an OS and application installed and running, then we can copy the OS and application over the network to a virtual machine, and it should be running in the end. The purpose is to get rid of the hardware server and virtualize the whole environment. So that's the purpose, and that was really going on intensely in last decade, that there were so many physical servers, and virtualization was a decade ago a bit newer thing. So everyone was going virtual because of saving so much money there in the environment, and then getting rid of the hardware, a lot of hardware there. For that, they had to purchase the whole property, bigger halls, so that got shrunk. Data centers shrunk because of that. So P2V was the main software that converted existing installed operating systems and applications directly on a hardware to virtual machine. So you don't have to install from the beginning, from zero. Suppose so if we go for the diagram here, so there are virtual machines here, and in fact, suppose one of them, this is our Win01 and ESXi 01 and 2 and 3. Okay, now suppose there is a file server here, physical server, and this physical server has Windows 2016, and it's configured as a file server. And so, well, obviously here we have hypervisors. We have ESXi hypervisor here, right? And on top of this, suppose this is also ESXi hypervisor, or this is just a virtual machine inside the hypervisor. So if I create a virtual machine here, virtual machine, virtual machine, virtual machine, but this is a direct physical server that has OS installed directly. It's not a hypervisor. There's an OS first, and then there is an application on top of it. So that's something that can be like every company's first priority would be to virtualize any operating system and application that is installed on a physical server. So for that, there's a software and Vcenter converter, and you can just simply deploy the software part of it, the application and OS. You can simply deploy it into a virtual machine. So that same OS and application which was working suppose for last 5 years, and you want to virtualize it instead of putting it on a physical server, and that physical server is really taking a lot of space there. So in that case, you want to just move. Actually, it's not going to be moving, it's going to copy the whole working application and a working operating system over the network into a new virtual machine. It's going to create a virtual machine that's going to put whatever was here working for last 5 years into this, and we're expecting it to keep working like that. So that's the concept of P2V, to get rid of the hardware, throw it out, and virtualize everything in fewer hardware servers which are more powerful. So that's the main purpose of that. P2V, how is it done then? Well, you need to deploy an application. So I think I give a link there in download explorer for Vcenter converter. Yeah, P2V. So that's this Veeam software is an older one. Don't download. Yeah, Vcenter converter, VMware converter actually. So this is the software that I'm going to be downloading, VMware Converter 6.2, but it's better to go for the latest version always. Maybe there's a 6.3 version, maybe there's a 6.4 version, so I'm just going to check it out on the website if they have gone for latest version here. VMware Converter download. Obviously, you need to have a free user account created on vmware.com. So vmware.com, download VMware Vcenter Converter. The name is actually VMware Vcenter Converter standalone. Vcenter Converter P2V virtual machine converter, right? So I click the first link, and it is latest is 6.2.0. Okay, so yeah, I have the 6.2. So well, it's the latest still as of today. So I'm gonna simply download the VMware Converter and download anyway. It's just 122 MB. It's a very small software. Save as downloads. Okay, 172 M. It's all about detecting it and what's the plan in a test environment. Obviously, we need to have certain machine here. So while it is okay, it's downloaded. Now I downloaded it in the laptop while I need to make it work in my remote desktop, which is right beside me. I copy this from my laptop to my desktop. Oh, you know that job? It's okay now. It's not giving me error. job finished with a warning. Okay, let me just copy that in downloads folder. There's paste. I'll just copy that again. Hopefully. Okay. Well, I'll grab it. It's there in my desktop as well. But the good news is that the DNS issue was resolved, and when I was fixing it, I had run it already last time. So now after fixing the DNS issue, or at least doing the flush and register DNS and disabling the card, then I did it again. So the DNS issue is gone. Well, with the warning, normally the warning is about VMware tools, but let's check out what the warning: cannot use VMware tools quiescence. Okay, so yeah, we don't have VMware tools, so that's so if you had VMware tools, this would also be gone. So so this means that this is also successful, and that DNS issue was resolved when we disabled the second, or the internet network card, plus did the flush and register DNS. The started machine is also now backed up, and we know already the restore process. Okay, so here I'm going to minimize this, and
Amir, I guess you're back to the same machine again.
Yeah, because before it was, no, it's not the same machine. Yeah, I backed up this machine. So first I tried to back up this machine, VM01.
No,
Yeah.
so you tried and it worked first time,
Yeah.
and VM01 was failing, right?
But this was shut down. VM02 was.
Yeah, you wanted to put a try to the power on state. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
so I powered it on, but yes, we can check this one as well if the actual error is gone. So
Yeah.
let's do this. Right click. Okay. So the power state here is, what's going on here? It's not taking my. Oh, I think the other window is maybe still open. No. Okay. Put somewhere else. Really? Oh. Okay. Is there any window open here? I'll close it from here and open it again. Okay, I think it's too much for this machine now. It shuts down itself, otherwise I'll kill it. So, okay, go. And I'll go for close everything else. Connect. Okay. Thinking. Oh. CPU is like 100%. Why is taking this? Framework. Okay, yeah, it itself is taking this whole thing. I'll also close the Chrome. It also eats up some of the memory and CPU. Alright. Okay, so I'll carry on with, I'll go to the inventory and go to the VCSA, right click on this machine, and I'll still go for another path here. Although doing it in a downloads folder, it still is okay, shouldn't be any issue. I'll go for downloads, but I'll create another folder here, backup. Okay, let's see if that machine also has some other issues, or if the second machine was done, so it should be also done. Now, okay, guys, let's take a break here, 5 o'clock, and let this also happen, so we can come back at 5:20 and continue. Okay. Short surprise. Check the video.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay. Break. Resuming, and what we're talking about, the P2V and then content libraries, so it's going to be onwards smaller topics there, and some theory topics as well. So I'm going to go for P2V now, which is small software. So what's the plan here? The plan here is that we have one machine here, Win01, although it is a virtual machine as well. But when we deploy that converter, so this converter here will think it is a physical machine. So it has no way of knowing that it's a physical machine or a virtual machine. It just considers this, and then it will ask that, okay, this machine excuse me, machine with an operating system and application, do you want all the software inside this machine, the OS and application, to be deployed here in whichever hypervisor? So we're going to choose E6i2, and whichever hypervisor you want to do. So just tell me the hypervisor name, and then tell me the machine name there, tell the data store name. It's gonna ask as if you're creating a new machine, so you're asked everything. So it's gonna ask all that here, that what needs to be deployed. And then what it's supposed to do is, so it's going to, in our case, obviously we have here Windows 2016 OS, and well, we have here all infrastructure roles like AD, DNS, DHCP. So we can just try to P2V this machine, and what we're expecting is that once the software goes ahead, so when the software starts, it does ask for another, like it needs to connect to the source. The software, the converter software, needs to connect to the source, so it needs the highest credentials of the source machine, which is this, and highest credentials of the the E6i2, how to connect to that, and then it needs permissions and privileges to create a virtual machine and copy over the network everything to that new machine. So now this converter software, since we have just one usable machine here, like the others are hypervisors, and this is the machine that has Windows. So we're going to try here, but the thing is that it has Active Directory as well, which puts a lot of security, by default security policies are there, and this software may have some kind of issues there to get access to this machine, although we're going to install it on top of this machine. Now this whole process of P2V can be done if suppose you are on another machine, like a third machine, and you put the P2V here, P2V software, the converter software, the Vmware Vcenter converter is the actual name. So you put it here, and then you tell the software, okay, this is the source, and this is the destination. So you can do that too from actually a third machine. And obviously for that we will have to create another machine with our limited hardware capacity. So I'm going to install the Vmware Vcenter converter software here, and I'm going to tell that this is the source and the destination is E6i2, and see if it lets us do that. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down this Win01. I'm going to put it back to 2 GB RAM, and in 2 GB RAM I can create another extra virtual machine, and we can just grab the Windows virtual machine as the source for P2V, and destination is still the E6i2. So I'll just copy the software here on Win01 now, and then try to tell it that this is the source, and whatever you see here, just copy it across and create a new machine there, just to show you the process of P2V, or mainly the purpose is to show what are the features that come our way. Okay, now which ones? Okay, so that machine, the first machine actually still had errors there with DNS, while the second machine did not have errors. So this means that it's the machine related issue when we're talking about the Veeam backup. Now this is the previous line I'm talking about. So I'm going to close that. This means that this machine level issue needs to be resolved, and the software is okay. Well, I'm just going to close that now, and it doesn't take that much CPU and memory. Okay, now I'm going to put that VMware vCenter converter software in Win01, and I'm going to tell it this is the very machine whose OS and app you need to copy over the network to E6i2, and create a virtual machine there and put the software there in the new virtual machine inside E6i2. So for that, I'm gonna make sure that I copy that software. So I'm just looking for that software in the local. I've minimized the VMware workstation, and I'm looking in the desktop where I put the software. ISO VMware soft. VMware Converter. Nope. I did put it here. Yeah. So 6.2 is the latest one, and that's the converter software. I'm just going to copy, right click and copy this, and put it in my first machine. And as the plan, what we're doing is that we're going to just simply run the software from here. Now I'll press yes here. So this is the Vmware vCenter Converter standalone. It should be just in LAN in any machine, and then you can, from that machine, you can point out that okay, that is the source and that is the destination within the LAN. So it's gonna do that. So sometimes it takes all night, or quite few hours. If the machine is like 200 GB disk or 300 GB, obviously it's gonna take then a lot of time, and do it on the off times, obviously. So I'm gonna click that next here to start that VMware Vcenter converter standalone. Next, I agree. Next. Simple, straightforward installation. It does ask for local installation or client server installation, and install converter on the same machine. Use this option to create and manage conversion tasks from this local machine only, and set up a client server model for converter. Use this option to install the server, client, or the agent on this machine. So because I'm going for standalone for just this machine, to just simply put all the software of this machine to E6i2's new virtual machine, so I'm just going to stick to this. Otherwise, you could just create a dedicated machine where the client software is installed and the server you would install on the source, and then simply go ahead and copy everything, like tell it the source and destination. So I'm going to go for next. Join the customer experience improvement. I'll just click next and install. It's a pretty straightforward software. It's all about the connectivity and permissions. It needs to be told the source and the destination. So in VMware environments or any virtual environments, normally Hyper-V environments as well, if the company still have some machines with existing software, so P2V will always be used there. So this machine is a heavy one because operating system, then Veeam Backup. So, and Active Directory doesn't take that much space. DHCP DNS doesn't take that much space. It has also the LUNs that have virtual machines as well. So yeah, pretty heavy machine. This one is. So I don't think it might finish this P2V process, full process, today, but the intent is to show that what is the procedure, how to go ahead, what options to choose, what options not to choose, or when to choose. Now, the main issue may be that it has the Active Directory. So the security policies sometimes do create issues for running different software. I'm just trying to log in and make sure I still have connectivity to my Vcenter. So this application, just like Veeam Backup, this Vcenter server also tries to connect to the Vcenter itself. So you need to give this application also, the converter application also, the credentials of the Vcenter. Okay, I need to shut down all the machines to gain whatever RAM I could out of. I don't need these machines to be up. Should have reset that to green instead of acknowledging it. Okay, let me check if that software, still installing. Wow, it's a very small one. Looks like it's stuck or something. Excuse me. May look like I have to create another one after lowering the RAM for this one. And if it gets installed, at least, I'm just gonna shoot up and finish it. I'll just close this Chrome and quite strange. I have another one which is a slightly older version, 6.0 instead of 2. So I'll copy this as well. Okay, 6.0 is there, and you can kill this installation because that's a very, very small software. It just installs right away. So oh, okay. Need to catch it. Tools core. Oh, yeah. One is that backup service I need to end task, so it gain more. And other is this tool core that I want to do. That's not it. I think it's okay, let me just I think I clicked on the right one, but that's yeah, I cannot actually untast this. It says okay. Well, I could just quickly restart and it will kill it. Really. So one machine where I'm installing a lot of software here, so it would definitely affect it. Power off, the virtual machine is failed. Are you kidding me? Okay, it's gonna load faster. So I was installing 6.2 and it was stuck. So I copied 6.0, the slightly older version of VMware Vcenter Converter, and then I'm trying to simply install the slightly older version so I could ahead with this. Okay, it did put the icon there for the Vcenter. You know, because I had to kill it, so that may not let me give errors when we are executing it, so I'm just gonna properly uninstall it and quickly go for the so I'm gonna install the older one properly. It would finish properly. It's just 277 MB, but for some reason it didn't get installed. Okay, done. Go on. And we'll just go for the 6.0 now. Okay, so next. Okay, it's done, and I'll finish and run it. Now that's how it looks like. And Vmware Vcenter Converter standalone allows you to take one of a variety of machines and convert it into a new virtual machine. The machines you may convert include, so what kind of machines you can convert? Physical machines. That's pretty much what we're targeting here, or whatever steps we take here for this machine are totally the steps that you can take for any physical machine. It's just exact same steps. And then there is VMware virtual machine.vmx configuration files, consolidated backup files you can convert, virtual PC or virtual server, virtual machines.vmc, semantic live state recovery image, Acronis true image backup, StorageCraft, Shadow Store, Parallels virtual machine products, and Hyper-V virtual machine. You can convert Hyper-V virtual machine to VMware virtual machines with this converter as well, but not the back, but not the opposite. So obviously VMware will not create any tool that would help you convert their machines to somebody else's machine. They will only help you offer you a tool that somebody else's machine could be converted to their machine. So I'm going to go for convert machine here, and before that, one more terminology that I, after seeing this, I should mention, and that is what I talked about already was P2V, but there's V2V as well. So that's P2V, and what is then V2V? So V2V is virtual to virtual, where any virtual machine of Hyper-V of Microsoft, Citrix, Linux could be converted to a virtual machine of VMware, right? So overall V2V is just convert a virtual machine of one vendor to the virtual machine of another vendor. So technically it's just, but this is, since we're talking about VMware, so from there to VMware, it could be the opposite of that too. It's also called just P2V. And P2V is, Microsoft also offers that tool of conversion, by the way. And you can convert all the VMware machines to my Hyper-V machines, obviously. So Microsoft would only offer that one way. Okay, so that's then V2V or whatever was virtual here, and this is physical machine that we're going for. So I'm just going to go for convert machine here. And the first thing it says is the source system, obviously then the destination system, and then options and summary. So we need to be connected to the source. Now it says here, select the source type. Is it powered on machine, VMware infrastructure virtual machine, VMware registration or VMware virtual machine, backup image or third-party virtual machine, or Hyper-V server. So it's a powered on machine, yes, we're on top of it right now. Is this a local machine? So I'm saying yes, this is this local machine. And then it says view source details. Now here what happens is it needs to, suppose it was okay, first of all it just gives the details that it got. It has that many LANs here, disks here, and this much RAM here, so it gives you all the details. But suppose if the more you would see this scenario, a remote machine as well, or you may as well see this scenario as well. So what that means is, if you select, suppose, another machine over the network, it tries to deploy its agent to that machine. You won't be able to deploy the agent to another machine if you did not choose the local administrator username and password of that Windows machine. So if I say that, so suppose you went for deploying a P2V or VMware Vcenter software here, and you are telling it that over the network, this is our main source machine. So you have to give here, or the best practice or the way it's going to work most of the time is just give the local admin username password, and or domain admin as well, but whichever user account has the privileges. So local admin username and PW. When you give to this machine, then it will deploy an agent remotely on this machine, right? If it is not able to deploy the agent, maybe the firewall is on, or you don't have the correct account or with the correct permissions, it could be any other issues as well that the agent may not. If it is a domain controller and remotely you're connecting and deploying the machine, it may be because of the domain controller Active Directory security policies that you may not be able to deploy agent. If the P2V software cannot deploy an agent, you cannot definitely do a P2V on this machine to convert it from physical to virtual. So the privileges, the agent has to be deployed successfully if you're doing over the network. Well, in my previous labs when we were doing 6.5, so this was the issue, and we had to create a new machine because we only had Active Directory and we had a Windows-based vCenter. So we had to create a third machine there, Windows, and then we had to deploy this software there. This is a local machine. Hopefully it's not going to give any issues being a domain controller. So I'm just selecting that this is a local machine, and so this is a source I'm defining now. I'm going to go for destination now, which is our ESXi2 hypervisor. So I'm going to click next here. But before I tell it the destination, it is asking, hey, where do I connect to? So do I connect to the ESXi2, or do I connect to the vCenter, and through the vCenter I see the whole environment plus ESXi2 as well? So I'm just going for, hey, just connect to the whole vCenter, right? So through that you could just see ESXi3 as well, which is not powered on in my case, but it could see the whole environment. You could just choose any other hypervisor as well. I just need to give it the DNS name of I'm going to go DNS manager here, power lookup zone, just like last time. This software also needs to have the DNS name, so I'll grab it from the A record here. and vcsa.netplus.local, or if you know the correct spellings, or if you're sure about the correct spellings, just write it there as well. So I'm saying that please connect to my vCenter instead of the E6i2, and then I will choose the data store and I'll choose whatever hypervisor. In my case, it's just one. But how to connect to vCenter, that's just the way. This is the way. Administrator. So let me see, let me see, 123.123. And this is a destination. So VMware Infrastructure Virtual Machine or VMware Workstation or other virtual machine. So those are the options. I'm just gonna click next, giving the DNS name of the vCenter and its highest credentials. So it detects that, okay, this is a self-signed certificate. I'll click ignore. And if all goes well, which it didn't, okay, cannot complete login due to an incorrect username password. Oh, you're kidding me. ADMINI administrator. Okay, maybe the password. Small ABC. Shit. 1, 2, 3. Not right. Due to incorrect username. Oh, really? Okay, maybe I'll give the domain name as well. Administrator. Oh, there you go. Yay. Okay, so yeah, it's the domain and the password, username, password. So now once the vCenter converter knows what to connect to, then it goes for then we need to tell it, okay, that which so source it already got. Okay, this is a machine, and NYDC has our two hypervisors. So first I'm gonna go for this NYDC. I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna click next. Then okay, which hypervisors within NYDC? So I'm just gonna say okay, E6i2, and within E6i2, which LUNs you want to create that virtual machine to? So I'm just gonna select any one. Okay, whichever. Now selecting that LUN, technically what's going on is it's copying this, connecting to the vCenter, living here in E6i1, and then trying to put that machine on E6i2, and the storage of Win01 is actually attached to E6i2. So it's gonna copy it, and on the storage that is also available here. So that's just in test environment that we're doing that. So I'm just gonna click next. I was so tempted to give the local data store of E6i2. Now this is the final screen, but there's that data to copy. Now that's a good option here, that what do you want to copy? So I will say that, hey, don't copy the LUNs. So I need to tell all that which disk to copy and which disk not to copy. So for that I'm going to click on top of this area here, and when I click here, so it gives me all the options. What do you want to copy? So I'm just saying, okay, C drive, yes, my OS is there, my application files are there. Other than that, I'm not interested in the EFG being copied. And oh, this is on import. You have certainly not to import a system archive volume administration. Oh, okay. You want to go? Yeah, I'll keep this. So, but that's one thing. That how many disks you want copied to the new virtual machine, and then we're going to dispose or demote properly this physical server. Well, in production environment we would have done it for this purpose, or use it for some other purpose. But other than that deciding that what drives you need to copy to the new virtual machine, you can go to the advanced option here, and then comes the destination layout in the advanced option. And here I don't want it to be thick provisioned because it's going to take all the space, although it will be good performance, but it's a test environment, so I want it to be thin provisioned. So if I click the basic here, so that just still give me that same window where I just unselected all other drives, and I click advanced here, so then destination layout, then I can just change it from thick to thin. Otherwise it would have really created it would have taken a lot of capacity and a lot of time as well. So these are the two changes I've done here, and other than that, in devices, vCPUs, disk controller, any more changes you want to go for. Now it says that the machine has 1 GB RAM. Up there we're giving not 4 GB, like it says 4 GB RAM here because Win01 has 4 GB RAM, but I'll say that okay, just give it 2 GB RAM up there. And other, so how many virtual CPUs you want to give, so you can choose that. I'll go ahead with the networks, and how many network cards you want. Do you want the NIC to be connected? I'm saying I'm unchecking that because that's the exact, it's going to be a copy of the Win01, so Win01 is already on the network, but if this starts up and it's connected to the network, so we can have then the name conflict and IP conflict there. So connect that, power on. We do need a network card. We can add it anytime there on that machine, but right now I'm saying that okay, uncheck this. Services. Now P2V has this very important option there, or the best practice is that none of the services, nobody should be connected to that machine. Obviously, none of the services should be started that may create a problem for so Active Directory Web Services, problem for the copying of everything. So there's a Active Directory Web Services there. I'll click stop. There is application information started. So it does say that hey, these services are started. It's gonna be good if you don't start those. Now we need to still connect over the network, so we should not be stopping any of the services that actually stops our network on this machine as well. So just be careful what you're stopping. Some of the obvious services like antivirus services, suppose you have antivirus there, anti-malware, backup scanning services, any of those services, driver services, DFS namespace, okay, DHCP client. So these are all started right now, and so if you stop, obviously when the machine is converted, they will be stopped, and any of those services can be stopped at. Normally we do take our time to make sure that none of the started services disrupt the process of the Vcenter. So, well, that's a lot of services, right? So that's, I'm just giving an idea that you can go ahead. Okay, there were some SQL services there that doesn't need to stay started there. So some of the obvious ones I'm going for was there's a huge list of services, and yes, we need to go through the huge list to make sure that services, all the Veeam services are started. I don't want them started when the P2V goes ahead. We don't have any antivirus, otherwise obviously antivirus would have, it's a big software, so it has a lot of services there. Vmware alias manager, SVG helper service. Anyway, some obvious ones I stopped, and just to give an idea as well. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so other than that, advanced here, synchronization, synchronize changes. You cannot synchronize the source with the destination when FAT volumes are selected and the source is Windows Vista or later. Resizing FAT volume. Wow, FAT, seriously. Shrinking NTFS volumes, changing cluster size. So we're not doing any of those tasks post conversion power on destination machine. You want it powered on. Okay, we'll try. Install Vmware tools on the destination virtual machine. That's always a good idea. Customize guest preferences for the virtual machine. If I'm not going to select that, but if I do, okay, there, customization, this option appears here, right? So what else you want to customize, right? Suppose I put a customize here and go for, okay, then comes throttling here. Customization will be coming in the next. So CPU throttling, throttling allows you to control the resources used for the current task. So it's up to you. Well, it may not be using a lot of resources. We actually not have a lot of resources as well. So nothing here much. Next. Then comes the customization that I went for. So you want to give a computer name, you want an owner name, organization name, SID. You want to, is it a work group or a domain? Which domain it is part of? So these are the options for customization. I'm going to go back and simply uncheck that customization. There. I want to fill up all those options. Okay, so services to suspend are these. It's going to suspend these services, SQL and Veeam services, and normally the drivers, antivirus, backup, whatever other services are running should be stopped as well. Other than that, yeah, so that's the full P2V, how it goes, and then that's it. So we kind of hope for the best. That no error comes, so I'll just click finish. Ouch. Okay, there's a IO error, file IO error. Okay. It didn't even start, so what did I do? Okay, I'll uncheck some of the options that other than the obvious, I'll just uncheck the others, like SQL and Veeam. I'm putting too much pressure on this tool to do a lot of stuff. Okay, SQL. Other than that, at the start I went for some basic Windows related services as well. I'll connect the network. Okay, the rest is same. I'll try to go again. Maybe it's too big a task for our environment. If I go back once more, what I did not choose was, what I can do is really, it could be that Active Directory as well, that may be stopping because it's never clear about, it doesn't clearly give that error that what exactly is stopping me. But from previous experiences, I've seen that, so whatever I did, I'm undoing that if any one of that caused it. But ultimately it's the Active Directory that I'm trying to go for. A few times it was successful, sometimes it gave error for security, but right now it's lack of very good hardware. That procedure is the same. It just needs to, after that it simply processes and creates a machine, So the procedure is still the same with more CPU and RAM. It would really, it's supposed to work. It's just it needs to know the source and destination. File IO. Okay, so it's still leaving that regardless of any changes we have done. I'll go for the local data store. That's another change over the network, because the LUNs are also part of the Win01, which we are about to copy. So I'll say that, okay, destination is there on E682 directly. It does give that again. I'm saying that don't go for LUNs. Anything else is okay. And also that don't make it a thick, make it thin. Next and finish. Even in production, when you're going for all these, and every hardware, okay, it starts. Every hardware is having its customized. Every OS and application has its custom configuration, so you do get a lot of errors or issues when you're starting to P2V. So it's not straightforward with any of those machines. It's always like that. P2V is going that way. So well, now it's has started. It's just simply says 1 hour and 2 minutes, and it's going to start. Now if I click that, so it gives the progress report as well. So it's 1% here, and it is checking everything, starting block level cloning. Did I say cloning? Cloning for volume C and the rest. So it's running 1%. Okay. So well, that's what P2V is. It just goes ahead and then starts the process. Now, any time during the network transfer of this, it could also say maybe, okay, the disk capacity is low, space is, we're running out of that, or not enough RAM. It could be any of those as well. Normally it works if it starts, unless we have some very less resources available for this kind of task. Okay, so that's P2V. It's just gonna continue going. And so I'm just gonna go ahead with the next one. So then there is content libraries. While we'll keep an eye on the P2V here. So we can also go for excuse me, content libraries. So what are those? So content libraries are like file servers, and normally it is we can, okay, let me just grab that. So content libraries are container objects for VM and VApp templates and other types of files, such as ISO images, text files, and so on. Well, obviously that's what file server does. You want to keep the ISO images somewhere, you want to keep text files somewhere, VApp templates somewhere that need to be deployed. You can use the templates in the library to deploy virtual machines and VApps in the Vsphere. So you just upload this any of the content to the content library, and then you can simply deploy it whenever you want. So the content library, and also when you're exporting, importing, and you have these extensions .vmdk, the virtual machine, the .ovf, open virtualization format, and .mf manifest file. These are the files for the OVF template or the exported virtual machine. So obviously you can just keep them all on the content library as well. And you can create two types of content libraries there. You can create a local content library to store and manage content in a single vCenter server instance. If you want to share the contents of that library, you can enable publishing. When you enable publishing, other users can subscribe to the library and use its content. Alternatively, you can create subscriptions for the library, which gives you control over the distribution of content. So subscription is a mechanism where you may not want to give access to everyone in VMware to the content library you are creating. So when you create a subscription, whoever has subscribed or whoever is allowed to subscribe can get access to that content. And that's the main thing here. And so that's called local content library. And then there is you can create a subscribed content library to subscribe to a published library and use its contents. You cannot upload or import items into a subscribed library. Subscribers only use the content in the published library, but it is the administrator of the published library who manages the templates. So end users cannot upload anything, administrators can upload and offer in this case, right? And then it goes on with hierarchical inheritance of permissions for content libraries, content library administrator role. So permissions, whatever the parent folder permissions are there, would go down to the child folders in the content library. So pretty much what we need to know is that it's a it's a file server where you can just save files. They don't call it file server, but it works like any typical file server where you want to upload ISO images, and whenever you want, we just access the UNC path there. Okay, so I'll just put this link there. Okay, now we need to let me just show then. Normally what happens is that you can create a Windows folder or a Linux folder in the background, or just simply create a data store on which you are creating a content library. So suppose you have ESXi hypervisors here, and now the ESXi has obviously the data stores that are coming as well. So if you're creating a data store, if you already have a data store here, so a content library can be created, and in the background the space can be provided from a LUN-based data store or a local disk-based data store, or content library can be created from any of the UNC path. So suppose you have here, this is Windows machine, and well, the content library should not be, it's not a Windows feature actually, so I'll just drag it here. It's actually a VMware feature, right? So it's a VMware content library, and Windows machine, and if you have Linux machine here, suppose, and you have a big VMware environment. Now you really want the content library to be there. So content library in the background can use the space of a data store. It could also use the space of a Windows disk, disk space can be used in the background. And same for Linux. So Linux disk space can be used in the background as well. But content library would need UNC path. UNC path needed. So what is a UNC path? Well, Universal Naming Convention, or it's like backslash excuse me, computer name, comp name, backslash share folder name, right? So that's the same thing there. It's gonna be just NFS based shared folder name, which actually doesn't start like that. It starts like the comp name and the shared folder name. I think in Linux the folders are also on the other side. So the main thing is that the content library can use the space of a data store or use the space of a Windows machine by connecting to its shared folder, or to the Linux machine by connecting to its shared folder, NFS shared folder, or here also here it is SMB, server message block. Excuse me. So well, that's kind of an idea about the content folder. While I'm here, I'll just quickly grab this and paste it for the P2V and V2V. Right. Okay, while we were talking about yeah, so what we can do is I'm just going to go to the content library and try to go through the wizard. Just putting the relevant stuff. So I did receive one on WhatsApp and one on my email request to send the sample questions. So after the class, I will send those sample questions of the exam for you. Okay. So here I'm gonna go to. First of all, I'm checking. Wow, it's on 23%. Wow, serious. Okay. Estimated time is 42 minutes. I'm just gonna minimize this while the P2V in the background is working. I'll go and open Google Chrome. Now, while I'm doing P2V, it does need all the memory and CPU that it can grab. Hopefully, what I'm doing now should not disturb P2V, but that's then if we just let the P2V go and don't do anything, then like it's just gonna fill up all the time we have. So I'm simply first connecting to the Vcenter. So it is loading, and I'll make this screen bigger. Oh, okay. And I will go to the menu and click the home button. So it's giving the CPU, memory, and storage usage here. So there's the content libraries here. It's still loading. Well, actually now I'm really being brutal. The P2V is also happening, and just to, if I just let P2V go, well, oh, yeah, it has gone. I'm asking too much here. So 30%. Okay, so it's loaded, and there's advanced and there's create. So if I click the advanced here, advanced preparation obviously will go later. I'll click cancel. First of all, let's click the create button here for the content library, and it says that it's like a file server you're creating and then letting others to put their ISO images, but in the background, which storage source are you using? That's the main point here. Name and location, specify content library name and location. So, well, just test content library, and Vcenter is this, yeah. So yeah, that's only one. And next, we just give a name first, and then it says that local content library. Local libraries can be published externally and optimized for syncing over HTTP. Subscribed libraries originate from other published libraries. So a local content library and subscribed library. So if I go for enable publishing, then enable authentication is there, and then whatever the password you can give there as well. That whoever has the password can only go for it. Otherwise, the content library is not available for everyone. But I'm unchecking that, so this means that it should be available then for everyone. If I go to the local content library without clicking the authentication, which means anonymous access, so then it says select the storage location for the library contents. It's pretty straightforward here, that it is asking us or offering us the data store, to be storing the content of the content library. So that's another straightforward option here. I'm just gonna go for any of those LUNs that are being offered by the that Win01 machine that is being P2V'd in the background as well. But anyway, this is what we're exploring. That okay, so it accepts the data stores as the source for storing all the data. I'm gonna go next, and that's all it offered. So I'll click finish here. Excuse me. And in the, so it's saying 0%, 100%, it got created, so it should show up. Create libraries created. Content libraries, it says 0, so I'm just going to refresh here. Yeah, so there's a library and its name is test content library. I'll click this library. Excuse me. And you can see that it says what templates you have, what OVF and OVA templates, VM templates, and other types here. If I click the other types, so well, there is no other types showing here, but there is actions here, and in the actions you see import item, right? And if I click the import item, so then it says that okay, you want to import item from a local file or from a URL. So it's simply saying that okay, whatever you want to upload, go ahead. So it's a local file, suppose, right? And I'll go for upload files. I think we did export some machines when we're going for OVF OVA, so those machines should be showing. I'm going to click upload files, and yeah, we do have OVA OVFs here, plus well, whatever file we have. So there are ISO here, there's all that. So if I go for, in fact, ISO, this one, 2016, and open, movement file ready to import, item name, notes, if you want to put some notes there, but you're importing that ISO to the content library. I'll click the import button here. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna go ahead and start importing that. It's gonna go for the percentage here, and you could just start importing whatever else you want. But obviously, if you have given the LUN, I gave LUN 2, so that's filling up, and whatever big file, small file you're uploading, it's gonna take that time to get uploaded to the content library. And that's inside the test content library. If I go to the menu and hosts and clusters, and if I go to any virtual machine and right click it, if it allows me in 4GB, I'm doing too much, it's on 42%. The P2V, while we are looking at, I was just going for content library as well. So first I'm going to select the machine here, so here there's that template, and convert or export VF template, converter template. There's the system log files, move to folder. Actually, there was if that ISO is not available yet, we cannot go for importing it. So I'm gonna go and edit settings. And CD DVD. I go further down here, other additional software. Normally that, oh, so see this? Now CD DVD, before we were going directly to data store, but we could now go for content library. So at the start of the course, we had these three options, but when you configure the content library, now you can get an ISO file from the content library as well, but it's still being uploaded or imported. If I click that content library, so it's still 0 bytes, so it hasn't uploaded or imported yet. 2016 that I was importing there, but that's how it's going to be available as a content library. So, well, this option only appears when you create a content library, which we just did now, and before that only three options used to appear here. Now the fourth option also appears here. So go back to client device and cancel, in fact. If I check, yeah, so it's still importing the ISO file here. If I go to P2V, so it's 46%. But the good thing is that we can already see the P2V virtual machine, the machine that we told to be created. Now it's just transferring all the software there. So it did create a machine that is the same name. If I go to, so there's that Win01 machine name here, and there's that Win01.netplus.local. So if I see this machine's actual name, Win01, if I click that, so Win01.netplus.local here, this is the name of the machine that is created already, but the software is still being copied there with the P2V. So okay, so there is we talked about content library, and it is still uploading the files, and that's gonna take a long time. Well, the main purpose is that how to create a content library and what are the types of content libraries there. Where do we actually see that in the environment? We saw that too. Also, we explored the options of Vcenter, Converter, standalone. Both are in progress right now. Other than that, if we go to the menu here, so there's global inventory lists. So it kind of gives you how much resources are there, and vCenter server, suppose you go for, so there's only one vCenter server there, obviously it's VCSA here, and if I just simply go back to the global inventory list, so it gives you globally the inventory, how many data centers you have. You can click that and it's going to show you whatever number of data centers that are there, and Control-Alt-8 is the, and resource pools and data stores and networks. If you keep going down, distributed port groups and distributed switches, so whatever number of these resources there are, it's saying that including the virtual machines here as well. If I just click the virtual machine, so that many virtual machines are there. CLS are the virtual cluster services. They also show in that list. There are cluster services in the background that are running. So overall, global inventory is there. Then there is workload management that I just clicked here. Hopefully the click is going to go through. So workload management enables deploying and managing Kubernetes workloads in Vsphere. By using workload management, you can leverage both Kubernetes and Vsphere functionality. Once you configure a Vsphere cluster for workload management, you can create namespaces that provide compute, networking, and storage resources for running your Kubernetes applications. You can configure namespaces with policies for resource consumption. So what is Kubernetes? So that is a discussion about containers as well, that when you deploy containers, and suppose you deploy 1 or 2 containers there, and what are containers? Containers just give applications isolated environment while keeping very low footprint of an operating system. It just virtualizes the OS as well. So the VMware virtualizes the hardware, right? And the virtual machines, when they get created, they have operating system and applications. But containers go one level up, that it also virtualizes the underlying OS. So you have very less files of OS, and you just have application there. So it's pretty light, pretty portable, and applications can be migrated from one container, can be taken to Linux environment. It could be taken to cloud Microsoft Azure, to cloud Microsoft, or to cloud AWS, Amazon Web Services. So containers are very portable. Now, when we talk about containers, which give isolated environment to applications, right? Basically, developers deal with that. So if you have 2 or 3 containers, then you don't need to come here in workload management. You don't need to come here to go for Kubernetes. But if you're a large company, you have thousands, hundreds or thousands of containers, then you need Kubernetes. Kubernetes really is, it controls centrally the containers in large scale. If I click that, learn more about, oh, I actually removed it. So that was a machine issue. That's why multi-homing also did not do any work with that previous. Enable the internet now on this machine. So we're talking about workload management. It's all about container orchestration, and I'll just click here. Learn more about workload management. It just takes us to the start of the documentation pictures. Okay, but overall, workload management is deployment of Kubernetes. Kubernetes is always used for containerization. So this is the main page of the Vsphere 7.0 documentation, and so this has all the topics for the whole features that it offers. And let me just give you a quick overview from here. So Vsphere 7 Kubernetes. So Vsphere 7 with Kubernetes, they have their own modern applications and Kubernetes. They have their own documentation and videos as well. Very good explanation to exactly what Kubernetes can achieve. But obviously, if you have a large environment, Kubernetes is all about you have hundreds and thousands of containers. Then we're talking about Kubernetes. Otherwise, 2 or 3, 20, 30 containers is, then you don't need Kubernetes. So large scale deployment. So vSphere 7 with Kubernetes is the biggest vSphere innovation since the launch of the ESXi hypervisor. Innovate fearlessly using vSphere with Kubernetes. So it gives you some kind of structure there as well for CIOs in enterprises today. The pressure is on to help grow revenue and maintain a competitive advantage. Line of business leaders are clamoring for the type of modern applications that deliver better user experiences and increase market share. And they want these applications in production faster than ever before. So pretty much modern apps are like distributed systems. So Kubernetes cluster is there, and under that, the overall cluster, normally you would have node, GPU node, and then node here. Node are all those main hosting. Their nodes are hosting containers. This diagram doesn't really give you a better idea, but once we get to know about containers being deployed there, then you would understand Kubernetes. Operating node models there, and then there is I just wanted to show a better diagram for this. Okay, vSphere 7 with Kubernetes powered VCF, so application focused services, VMware Cloud Foundation services, Tanzu. Now Tanzu is the underlying processing capabilities that are provided to the containers with the help of, if there are hundreds of containers, then Kubernetes overall provides the best performance for the containers. In turn, the performance is reaching the applications. Applications perform best as well. So Tanzu is that, in fact, this is another terminology that needs to be understood. So I'm just going to quickly vSphere Tanzu. Let's give you another idea about that. What is vSphere Tanzu? So as soon as you see a new terminology, obviously you need to answer those questions in the exam as well. Your business needs modern apps, okay, but they come with unique challenges. To get started, developers want new tools and latest development practices, but IT admins worry about securing and managing this new generation of workloads. vSphere with Tanzu provides the best for both worlds. So what it does, run modern containerized workloads using existing IT infrastructure and processes. Developers innovate and build with agility of Kubernetes, and IT administrators manage and secure workloads in their familiar vSphere environment. So it's a balance between developers really wanting to go ahead with their latest applications, and IT administrators are stopping them. Hey, wait, developers, let me securely provide that to you. It's latest, it's new, but let me securely provide that to you. And so that's where it's the full name of the process, which is VMware is calling as Tanzu. Top 5 reasons Kubernetes runs better on vSphere, so that's another one. But what is vSphere with Tanzu? vSphere with Tanzu bridges the gap between IT operations and developers with a new kind of infrastructure for modern cloud-native applications, both on premises and in public clouds. Why vSphere 7 for Kubernetes? Well, so Tanzu is all about, hey, developers, you want newer ways to develop while not compromising our security. So work with IT administrators, developers, and VMware gives a mechanism in the form of Tanzu. So it's a full mechanism where dive deeper into vSphere with Tanzu, and that's a lot of technical diagrams there. But it's a mechanism for IT operations or operators or administrators to provide developers newer features securely in the familiar vSphere environment. So it's a full name of mechanism of providing newer developer features in containerization and Kubernetes with the help of this mechanism called Tanzu. So I'll just Okay, I'll check out the environment here. Okay, the import of the ISO is nearly done. It's not the import we're waiting for. It's 61%. Okay, it's gonna take much more time. So, guys, we're gonna continue in next class, and hopefully I will be recording this till the end. Otherwise, that's gonna take some time now, and you can wait for it. But yeah, it could take much more time than we have, so I'll just put it in the video, and you can follow the video then if you want. Okay, so I'll just keep the video running until it ends, and then I'll stop the video, but we can meet next week then. Okay, resuming. So, well, it is done. Completed successfully. Completed. Created successfully the P2V. Congratulations. And if we go to the menu, go to home and hosts and clusters. And well, this is the machine that got created here. And well, I'm just afraid of the memory that I have left with. I'm still powering it on. And it's powering on now, and it's going to right click that and go to the web console just to connect remotely to this machine. And yeah, it is connecting. Yay! So it's the same machine that we were inside, but its copy has been created here, and it's starting. But even if the start process takes time or not, remember that this machine had or has the Veeam software, right? So it's a lot. It's huge. It's heavy, but it has been converted successfully to a VMware virtual machine, and it is actually starting. Yay! And then I'm trying to log in from that same machine, and yeah, it's now the two domain controllers which have started, and I'm successfully logged into this machine, which is just a virtual machine inside E6i2. So that's a success. Congrats. So I'm just gonna right click and shut down this host. Well, since I'm inside, I'll just initiate a shutdown from within. Wow, let's see. Right click, shut down. So we're good. Oh, okay, yeah. Instead of shutting down this machine, I shut down the actual machine. Well, this is the end of the lab, and I'll suspend everything anyway, but I didn't meant to shut down the actual underlying machine, but I did. Well, still, that machine works fine. The P2V worked fine. It was successful. Again, yay. Okay, bye-bye.